Hello and welcome back to the Bleeding Mechanic. Guys, we're back in the garage and we're working on the Honda. Let's talk about it. All right, so what we got going on today is we've got to tackle the clutches. The other day, and what I'll do is I'll show you a video, is went out riding and I noticed that when you really hit it on this bike, the engine will rev up, but it doesn't technically go as fast as the engine should be going. And there's a way to test this. Is basically what we're doing is we're going to take this bike out for a quick stroll. We're going to drop it down to like third gear, or I should say drop it up to about third gear, let a low roll, and we're going to hammer it real hard. And what you're going to see is the bike's going to rev up, but the tire ain't spinning, and it's just not going very far. Those clutches, probably original, need to be changed out. So let's go ahead and let's work on that, guys. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll in front of the camera, doing nice slow, maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour. I'm going to put it up into about third or fourth gear. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just lay into it real good. And what we're going to look for is that bike revving up, but it's not really going any faster. And what that's going to tell us is that the engine's spinning faster, but those clutch and friction discs are not holding tight enough that it's all being transferred to the tire. Do a slow roll. As you hear, it's just chugging. We're in like fourth gear. You hear that it revs up, but the bike really doesn't go. And the revs should correspond with the power going to the wheels. So before we open up the side case to get to all the clutch packs and everything, we're going to have to drain the oil. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and drain all the oil out of the system. We just did an oil change. This bike's probably got about 5 or 6 hours since we did that oil change. It's been doing it since, so I'm assuming what probably happened is one of two things. One, just time. The clutches just wore out. We might go in there and find out there's no clutch disc material left. All the friction material could be gone. And it's just basically some areas that have metal. Metal on metal just doesn't grip very well. Or two, what could be also the potential that some people do that don't know very much is that they run some 1030 or 1040 motor weight oil, not realizing these bikes, the engine oil mixes in the same batch of components as those friction plates, and it's called a wet clutch system. And that wet clutch system has to have special oil that maintains friction to those discs and those friction plates. So I'll go ahead and quickly drain the oil, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to take that side cover off. From our local power sports, we ordered some EBC brand. These are just what they end up having. So in this kit, so what we have in this kit is 3 different parts. Friction discs and metal plates. And these friction discs have little tiny bit of composite material on there. And in between those go these metal, just steel plates. And these steel plates, between there's spring pressure, brand new springs, heavy duty springs. So we're gonna go ahead and take apart the bike and get to that clutch pack in there and do that. But yep, these right here are what usually goes bad. Now, one of the things that you're gonna need to do when you do these is what I like to do is put these in a bucket and coat them in the oil and let them sit in the oil for a bit. They get soaked, pre-soaked. I'll put these in a like a drain pan, clean it out real good, and put some fresh oil right on top. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this side cover off. Now there's 2 sides of this bike. There's 2 halves of the whole motor. There's the left side on this particular bike has what's basically the magneto. It's what creates the spark. It's the little generating part of the electricity that makes everything work. That's on the left-hand side. The right-hand side has a clutch basket. And the way we know that is because the clutch comes over here, and this right here is the release for the clutch. So when you squeeze it, this is what's moving, and it's pulling the spring tension off of those clutch packs. So this side we have to take off. There's a number of bolts that go all the way around the case. Before we can do that, we do have to take off the brush guard and the kickstart. And then we should be able to remove all those bolts, get this off, and see what's going inside. So let's go ahead and do that. And before I pull off the Kickstarter, because it's in a certain position that we like to have it in, I'm gonna mark on the teeth and on the Kickstarter where they line up with a paint marker. There we go. We just go ahead and we just put a blue line on there. I'm gonna go around and crack all these free. Ooh, and they are snug. So a trick to make sure that all the bolts go back in the same spot is grab a piece of cardboard and you take them out and put them in the design that they come out. So we'll start up here in the front two. And we just pierce them through the cardboard like so. And we'll work in a clockwise rotation like so. So there we go. That's the layout, and as you can see, different size ones are in there. So we're gonna set this off to the side so it doesn't get messed around with. All right, at this point, should be able to free up and knock this loose. Just make sure everything else is out of the way. There is this decompression lever here next to the brake. It feels like it's just going to wiggle off the end. All right, knock it around a little bit, get a little bit of movement. We're going to just slowly wiggle this off. There we go. The brake's going to be in the way a smidgen. Let me pull out the dipstick. It could also get in the way. It's a pretty long dipstick. Yeah, I'm gonna have to push this brake down some more. So I gotta get the brake pedal to come lower, so I'm gonna loosen up the part, and I'm gonna take this spring off so I can freely push that brake pedal down and out of the way. There we go, now that's nice and far out of the way. Just keep working this nice and easy. There we go. All right. And now we can see the inside of here. There's some sludge on the bottom that we're going to have to clean out. But no metal chunks, so that's good. I'm just going to go ahead and set this off the side. We are going to have to clean this surface off and put our new gasket on. Now that we're actually open, what you can see here is a couple things. This right here is actually the crank. This is connected to the bottom of the piston. This is our clutch basket. There's 4 bolts, and then there's 4 springs. Here are our friction disc, and in between there is steel plates. And I believe the way it starts is it usually goes friction disc from the outside because there's this steel basket here, and it goes friction disc plate, friction disc plate, friction disc plate. We just make sure to match that up. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pop these 4. Let's go ahead and pull this. This is a carrier bearing for the shift lever, or the clutch lever. Just don't want anything to come free that we don't want to. So let's go ahead and pop these free. We might have to use the impact, but we'll see if we can take them off with the socket first. These are not on terribly tight, they just need to be snugged. So on the end of the clutch pack, there is a kind of like an odd looking bolt. I'll show it to you real quick. A nut that has 4 little hex spots, so we're going to have to get that off there first. All right, so the next thing we have is 3 Phillips here to take this. I don't even know what this thing is called here, but we're going to take it off. Use the impact to quickly break it free. Make sure we don't strip out anything. that you have to take this off. To get the next part off, to get this part off, and this has the same 4-tongue socket. And then what's going on in here, there's a little gasket in there, and a little bit of material gathering up in there. It's hard to tell, but oh yeah, it's picked up a lot of material. A lot of probably friction material in there that this thing's catching. So we're going to go ahead and clean this up. I've got a socket and I'm going to make the tool we need. This is an old crappy socket. Fits in. I'm going to cut the 4 teeth out with a grinder. Take it in there, impact that one off, impact that one off. This will slide out, and then this will slide out as well. So to get these 2 nuts off that have 4 slots, I've got this socket that I made. It's like a little castle socket. It's from, I think, a 7/8, yeah, 7/8 socket, ground down. The posts are straight across from each other, thinned out. And now it allows us to go on there, and then I can break it free with that impact. Now there's a real socket that you can buy that can do all this, but I wasn't waiting, so I made my own. There you go, one off there. One off there. So now that these are loose, you can slide this off, and here, I'll just show you that nut real quick. Put that off to the side for now. And then this one can come off the rest of the way as well. Now there is a washer on here. And I believe it says, it's hard to tell, but the washer says outside. And that faces outwards. On the outside first, we'll just take these off in layers. You've got this first part here, which has splines and an internal spline. Just kind of looking at the surface. Surfaces look like they've been used, nothing bad. And then from here, we can grab all these discs. All right. There's also a last part of the basket in here as well. We'll just make sure everything's nice and clean. That goes in there. So what we have is we have friction disc, plate, friction disc, plate, so on and so forth. I wouldn't say that these look as bad as I was hoping that they were, but again, what could be the case is it's possible that someone might have run regular oil in here. I mean, they are definitely got some more worn grooves. The grooves are definitely much less, but they're not completely gone. So what it is, I went ahead and cleaned up one of my little empty Tupperwares, and I'm going to take these friction discs, I'm going to lay them in here, separate them a little bit, and then I'm going to put some wet clutch fluid and let them sit in it for a bit. And the idea is you don't want those clutches going dry on the metal. So I'm going to let those go in there. And just let them get wet with fluid. Make sure they are separated. Pour a little bit more on there. So the old ones still had some material on there. They were definitely more worn than new. So my guess is they're probably glazed over, and that's what's happening. Plus the combination of some really bad and old oil that was in this unit before. I mean, even what I changed out of it looked bad, but it was at least, it's been getting new fluid ram in there. The other thing too is that it was pumping gas in, and I think gas was getting by, and I think the gas was kind of washing some of that inside stuff. So luckily we got that out of there as soon as possible. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm gonna go ahead and clean off the gaskets, off all the old, to get that prepped and ready. Make sure all the gaskets off of the case cover, off the engine, and then off that little tiny round disc there. Got all new gaskets for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that right now. Okay, so we've finished cleaning it all off. Now we're getting ready to assemble it back together. So what we've done is we put the basket together, and we did exactly like we were talking about. Let me pull this apart real quick. So what we have is starting with a friction, and then a disc, and then a friction, a disc, friction, disc, ending with friction on the outside. Put the back side together, slide these two together, line up our tabs, and those slide into here. Went ahead and did the backer in the front. We did friction disc, and ended with another friction. And I kind of just put this together just to keep them all together, so this way it's easy to slide on. I'm gonna have to take it back off to put the bolt in the middle, but this will allow us to put this back on. We do got our washer, splined washer there, our basket. Basket looks good. So now I'm gonna just slowly slide these in there, lining these friction discs up. All right, so we just go ahead and I just twisted that shaft in the middle there to get it to line up. So now that has fallen all the way in. So the next thing to do is put our washer that says outside back in. The outside faces the outside. Next thing we do is our little nut, which the nut has two sides. One side's chamfered, one side's flat. Chamfered side goes in. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and pop these screws back out. Like I said, I just put these in by hand just to keep the basket from falling apart. And these are our new springs on here. There we go. Take that back off. Now we can go ahead and work on tightening this. And I'm just going to put this on the lowest setting. And like I said, it's 30. There we go. So that's good. And put this plate back on. Get these started again by hand. And these were just snug. I was able to break these free by hand. There we go. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put that basket back on here. This has that washer that says out and nut as well. Slide that in there. Get this started by hand. Same thing, 33. All right. So now we have to get our gasket on. So I'm just going to take some oil and new oil, and I'm going to oil up the gasket. And that new oil will just help seal. Plus it's going to stick to the block, even though there are standoffs. So there's a standoff here. And then there's one on this back side, and that's going to hold it in place. There we go. All right. So just going to do kind of a little walkthrough, make sure we got everything we need inside the motor. Nope. That's exactly why. This is the clutch bearing and pusher. That goes in there. Put a little oil on that. Have that slide in there. There you go. Good. This is the decompression setup. That's good. Just going to oil up the shaft. Good. Just put a little bit of oil on everything just to keep it nice and good. All right, so I think we're ready to get that case cover back on. All right, went ahead and put the decompression device back on because I didn't need to take that off, so I just went ahead and reattached that here. So the rest of it, we should be able to start getting back on. So one part that we have to do is make sure line up is for the clutch lever itself. So we've got the clutch case back together, and boy was that kind of a pain in the ass. So just to give a quick little rundown and the reason why it's sucked and everything. So what was going on and why it was such a pain in the butt to get this thing back together was the decompression. And I had to take the arm off. I'll show you real quick. Right here, you'll see this little device here that when it's kicked, this swivels, which then pulls this cable, which then pulls the decompression right here. And so that doesn't really fit. So this part doesn't fit with it attached to the side cover in here. So what I had to do was get the cover in and then put that piece in afterwards. But there's another problem. It's keyed. And the reason why it's keyed is inside there is a little spring and paw that when you kick, it moves back, which tilts the decompression. Well, when the spring's on there, it's pushed forward and it's in the wrong spot. Also, on the Kickstarter itself, there is a dot on the inside of where this decompression gear is at. You got to make sure to line those dots up. So made sure that was lined up. And what I was able to do was actually put the bolt into the that little paw, just snug it up enough that I could then take my ratchet and twist back on it while I push the cover back on. And then once it was back in, I was able to twist it a little harder, break that nut free, it's in the right spot, slide the lever back on, everything hunky-dory. So we're going to go ahead and now torque this down. It's 7 to 9 foot-pounds. First thing I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna go ahead and just get them all slightly snug. And when you tighten this, you're gonna wanna tighten it in a crisscross pattern. So you go from here, across the case, up on top, across the case. Looks like I am gonna have to use the extension, so you will lose a little bit on that. All right, torque down. I forgot I took this loose, so let me get that real quick. Yeah, all right. Everything's back together. Now let's get the Kickstarter back on. So we'll just go ahead and finish putting everything back together and then we'll add our fluids. All right, so everything's back together. So we're gonna go ahead and start by filling up the crankcase with brand new oil. And it takes 1.06 quarts of oil. And when we measure it, we'll hold the bike straight up in the air and measure it off the dipstick with the bike sitting up properly. So there's 1 quart. Putting in the right stuff, the wet clutch. Go ahead and get our dipstick in and check it. So it's just below the top of the crosshatch. So I'm gonna add a smidgen more. All right, we're right at the top of the crosshatch. All right, everything's back together. Let's see. Clutch is working. That's a good sign. I'm just adjusting the clutch lever so there's a little bit of play. A little bit of play before we can take it up. There we go. All right. Back in neutral. All right, boys and girls. Let's see if we made it worse. So everything seems to be fine, but here's the moment of truth. Let's see if this decompression is working. So far, so good. Yep, decompression lever is moving a little bit. It kicks, which is good. So let's see what we got. All right, oil. Might need a little choke. All right. Clutches are working. All right, let's go warm this thing up outside and run it around a little bit. All right, so now that the clutches are in, I want to just get them running through all the gears, nothing real hard. Make sure oil is getting through those things really good. Not going to hammer it real bad, so I don't want to burn them out too quick, but I should be able to tell some difference. Here. Third gear. Fourth. Fifth. So I can already tell that the clutches are holding a lot better. I just was in third gear and started going harder and harder on it, not overly hard, and it would not rev out like it did earlier at all. And it was revving out even about 2/3 throttle, which is where I was just at. It just chugged the whole time. It would not rev out. So I think we're a lot better, boys and girls. All right, I will say, I kind of hammered it a little bit back there, trying to really see if it's any better. All pull, like there's like a 50-foot line of ripped up dirt. Before, it would be a little section of ripped up dirt, and then you can tell that's where it's spinning out. It's way better. So yeah, this is awesome. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. So there you go, and I just double checked again, and again, no oil leaks. Awesome, I'm happy. That's gonna wrap it up for this build, rebuild, and kind of tune-up bike. Everything on this bike is a little worn, a little beat, but it's a great bike. And I will say I'm falling in love just ripping around the yard in this thing's so much fun. I mean, I love riding my XR200R, which is again another trail bike, but this thing's just fun. It's small, it's easy to whip around. What we've done now is we've gone through every bit of this bike, other than literally the internal components, which I'm hoping not to need to. We're all set. Other than like rebuilding the motor, everything else seems to be really good, but the motor's fine, good compression. This bike's ready. So I think next time you'll probably see me is after my son probably wrecks it at his first ride up north. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching the video. There's other videos on this bike. If you want to look at those, check those out in the description. But that's going to wrap it up. This bike's ready to go. That's a clutch job, and it was a hell of a job too. So thank you guys. Make sure if you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I'm really trying to get this channel going. I got lots of projects I'm going to keep putting out. Real life tends to get in the way a lot, but let's keep this channel going, boys and girls, and we'll see you on the next one.